Hey guys, so today I'm doing a video on 10 tips that help me and my family of 5 live on one income. So I have to say that we don't particularly have a low income, it's quite an average UK income, but I hope these tips help you in some way anyway. Tip number 1, talk to your spouse, partner, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend openly about finances. It's great to be open about what your goals are and what you want to achieve. If you both have the same goals, that's great. I'm lucky that me and my husband both have the same goals in life. We might not always approach things in the same way because we're very different people, but we do have the same goals. One of my major goals is to pay my mortgage off as soon as possible. And this is because we have a 30-year mortgage and my husband's in his 40s, which kind of means that we will still have a mortgage and he'll be retired. And if we do that, we'll end up in a position where we have to sell and downsize. Now, if we want to sell and downsize when we get to that age, that's fine. But I want to do it because we want to and not because we have to. So a big goal of mine is to pay the mortgage off as soon as possible. Obviously, I spoke to my husband about this and of course he's on board and completely agrees with me. One of my other goals is to have long-term savings. Even though my husband has a secure job, I still think it's a good idea to have some long-term savings and goals. And again, he agrees. But I am more of the one that's in the driving seat and I'm more frugal and I'm more savvy, and he's more of the type of person, if there's money in his pocket, he will spend it. But if you're in a relationship where you're both really good with money, then that's fantastic. If not, just be open and talk your goals through. Tip number 2, budget. It's so simple, yet so important to list out everything you have coming in and everything you have coming out. I have a friend who's single and confided in me and said, you know, she's having money troubles and things like that. And I was like, have you done a budget? No. So we went through her finances together. Luckily, she trusted me and she was convinced that she had more coming out than she had coming in. After we'd done her budget, we found out that's not the case. She does have more coming in. She just doesn't know where her money's going. So we kind of set up some strategies and we talked about it. But if you just leave money in your account, it just disappears. It just flies away. Tip number 3, set goals. Set long-term financial goals as well as your short-term financial goals. So as I've already said, my long-term financial goals is to pay my mortgage off before my husband retires and to have long-term savings. My short-term financial goals is, and I'll talk about this more later, is all the other accounts that I hold, which are Christmas, birthdays, days out, that kind of things. Things that come up every year, you know, you expect them and you plan for them. Tip number 4, prioritise your needs from your wants and what you can do without. Again, these are all interlinked, so I'm hoping I'm not repeating myself. But you have your budget, you know what comes in and you know what goes out. And then you have your separate piece of paper with your financial goals, the long-term ones and the short-term ones. Now you need to prioritise. What can you cut to make way for your priorities? So for instance, we cut cable, we cut the landline, we have SIM-only contracts on our mobile phones, and the money that we save in those areas can then be put towards our priorities and our financial goals. Tip number 5, be realistic and don't compare yourselves to others. This is because everyone else's financial situation is unique to them. Everyone has different incomings and outgoings and everybody's priorities are different. So don't look at somebody else and think they have this, they have that. Their circumstances are so different to yours and their priorities may be so different to yours. So just think inwards on yourself and your own priorities. Do what you can do with the money that you have available to you. You just need to prioritise your needs and wants. Number 6, don't live above your means. Don't even live within your means. Live under your means. And I mean this because obviously if you're living above your means, there's going to come a point where you're going to be in trouble. If you live within your means, which I think most people try and achieve, all you're doing is treading water. If something happens, you're going to be in trouble. If you live under your means, it means there's always that bit of money left and you're in a better financial situation and you could sleep better at night, at least for me anyway. Tip number 7, set savings up as if it was a bill. So most of my bills come out as a direct debit, so I also set up my savings as a standing order on the day of around my bill. So Danny's wage comes in and then all the bills and all the savings are paid. That way I'm not leaving it till the end of the month when the money's spent and then having nothing left to put into savings. If you wait to do that, you'll never have the money to put in. If you just set it up as a bill, it's already been and spent. Tip number 8, if you're in debt, pay that off as fast as you possibly can. Make overpayments. Obviously you do need to have a bit of savings as your back foot, because if anything happens, you don't want to be going into more debt to get yourself out of trouble. But once you have a bit of savings that you can fall back on if you need to, get rid of that debt as soon as possible. Get out of that rat race. Tip number 9, set up pocket money accounts for you and your partner. Now I know this sounds really childlike, but it has really helped me and my husband. We used to just use the joint account if we needed something, but then you get that whole needs versus wants, and when the money comes in you see this big amount of money because we get paid monthly and you think it's fine. It's amazing how quickly it all adds up and you don't realise how much these small expenses add up. So me and my husband, about 6 months ago, I said to him about having pocket money accounts and he agreed. He's so laid back, and we determined an amount within our budget. Obviously our budget will be different to yours because everyone's situation is unique, but for us it was £50 a month. He was convinced he didn't need that much. He's like, I don't spend £50 a month. So I said, well, if you don't spend it, leave it in your account and then just save it up and then you can treat yourself to whatever you want. He agreed. I think within about 4 or 5 days he'd spent it and he couldn't believe how quickly it went. Now, 6 months later, he's fantastic with it, and in fact he always has money rolled over, and it just makes him more aware of how much he's spending. He used to, rather than take food from home, he'd just buy something while he was out at work, you know, a coffee, a sandwich, this, that, the other, and not realising how much money he was spending across the month on food. Now he's like, if I take food from Monday to Thursday, on a Friday I can treat myself to a Subway or something like that, because money is his and there's no judgment. So I can't say, you've spent money on this and you've spent money on that. And again, if I want to buy myself something, a treat, I don't have to justify myself and justify to him what I'm spending my money. That money has been allocated to me to spend on whatever I want. Obviously within reason, because I only have £50 a month, but it does mean that I have that bit of freedom, and it also means that it gives Danny, who's not as good with money as I am, it gives him a bit of responsibility and makes him accountable to himself, which has done him the world of good. He's actually doing so much more better than I thought he ever would. So consider pocket money. I know it seems really strange at first, but once you get into it, it's really fun. And actually, I'm always saying to him, how much money have you got left? And he's always got more than me. And I never would have thought that. So that's a really good one. Tip number 10, my last one. Set up your savings into category accounts. So I actually have 10 accounts. I thought on the top of my head that I had 7, but when I started to write them down, I realised I actually have 10. That's a lot. Let me run through them with you. Some of these might not be applicable to you, but let me just go through them anyway. So the first account we have is our joint account, and that's the account that Danny's wage goes into and all our bills come out of. Secondly, we have our pocket money accounts. So Danny has his and I have mine. Our fourth account is our long-term savings account. So this is money that doesn't get touched unless something major happens or there's no main goal, it's just long-term savings. Our fifth account is our short-term savings. Now this account, I aim to have a £500 float in, and this account is very flexible because every month something comes up. Either the kids have got a trip or they need new school uniforms. It's the account where it's hard to categorise. Another example, my washing machine element broke. So the washing machine was washing in cold water. Danny done a YouTube course and bought a part and fixed it himself. So that came out of that account. School photos, you know, those things that just come up and you know, you've got no specific category for them. That's what that accounts for. And then whatever I spend, I try and replenish the the following month, not the month after, just depending on how much money we ended up taking out of that account. The sixth account that I have is my Christmas account, so I save all year round for Christmas. The seventh account is birthdays. All my 3 boys are born in August, so just like I save all year round for Christmas, I do the same for their birthdays. The eighth account is days out and holidays. Though I try and make those days as cheap as possible, it's nice to have money in the account that if we want to go somewhere spontaneously, there's money there to just do it. Ninth account is the DIY account. Not everyone would need this, but when we bought this house, it was a repossession. It has had a lot of work into it. And again, going back to my priorities, having a nice home is a big priority for me. At the moment, Danny is re-rendering the front of the house, so while he's doing the work, I'm saving up for the next project. My 10th account is the car account. So what we did here was we looked back at our statements, me and my husband looked back at our statements and worked out how much the car and the motorbike cost us in a year. We looked at insurance, tax, MOT, fuel. We also took in car parts and bike parts into consideration as well. We rounded it up. So we take money out of the joint account and put that at the beginning of the month. Then we also have a card for that account, so when we want to fuel up, there's a separate account for that. It doesn't come out of the joint account. Danny was previously a mechanic, so if there is any problems with the car, we're very fortunate that he can do the work himself. We just buy second-hand parts. So I hope this video was helpful or informative in some way. If you are in debt, if you are in trouble, please seek help. If you're in the UK, you can go to the Citizens Advice Bureau, who'll be able to direct you. I'm sure there's other organisations out there that can help too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye. Take 4. Oh my goodness, so far. The postie has knocked on the door and disturbed this recording. The school phoned me and arranged a meeting later and my battery died. So I had to put my phone on charge. And now I'm recording again.